Hey guys, Justin here for S&S Archery. In today's gear video, we're going to do a complete comparison over the Tightspot Quivers. There's no secret, we love the Tightspot Quivers. We've all been running them for a very long time. They're lightweight, they're durable, they're quiet, and probably the best thing about them is how close, how tight to your riser they're going to support all that arrow weight. So by eliminating that weight hanging off to one side, you're going to have a lot less hand torque, your bow is going to be more balanced, you're going to have a more accurate shot, and Tightspot does a great job with this. Now the three quivers we're going to look at today are the 7 arrow, 5 arrow, and the rise. So we'll get into some of the specs. 7 arrow is 18 inches from gripper to the bottom of the hood and comes in at 10 ounces. 5 arrow, 18 inches from the gripper to the bottom of the hood, comes in at 9.9. And then the rise is 4 inches shorter, coming in at 14 inches from the gripper to the bottom of the hood, and comes in 11 ounces. So this quiver is a little deceiving. It is shorter and smaller, so it should be lighter, but it does come standard with Tightspot's secondary gripper. Now this is an add-on for the 5 and the 7 arrow and can be taken off of this quiver to lighten it up. But what this is really intended for is if you're somebody that shoots a expandable broadhead, if you were to push those broadheads all the way up into the top of the hood, they could actually open and deploy. So by using the gripper, you don't have to have those broadheads all the way at the top of the hood. You can just keep them backed out just a little bit and they're going to be contained with this gripper. This gripper will also help with some sound and vibration dampening, so you can use those on the 5 and the 7 as well. The rise also comes with this loop, so this is intended to use as if you're in a tree stand, you can hang this near you off of a little limb or a tree stand peg, just in an easily accessible spot so you can pull out another arrow. We'll kind of break down the quiver itself. They all kind of have the same components, but you have a very well constructed hood that's going to protect your broadheads. You have a rubber hood liner insert here. Each individual arrow has its own spot, so what that's going to do is help your spacing for your broadheads, so they're not going to get they're not going to rub on each other, they're not going to dull up, but it's also going to help with the spacing of your arrows moving down the quiver. That way your veins aren't all bunched up as well. Moving down the quiver, you have the 2 carbon rods, and then this gets into your mounting system. So the one thing with Tightspot Quivers, they are very customizable to any and every shooter. So you can actually move this quiver up and down on your setup by simply unloosening these 2 Allens and these 2 Allens. This mount moves up and down. And then when you actually mount the quiver to your bow, this bracket right here is what you'll get with all 3 of these quivers. This bracket will mount directly on your bow sight or your dovetail, and it can actually be mounted at different angles. And so what that's going to do is you're able to pitch this thing forward or back to help with some stabilization or follow through. So there's a lot of playing with this. It's not just a set quiver that goes on your bow and it has one set position. All these quivers have this quick lever cam, which is just a simple up and down motion, locks it in place. These are detachable quivers, as you can see. Moving down the quiver, you have this little rubber spacer. Now, if any part of your bow comes in contact on the carbon rods, the spacer can be put in between that to dampen the sound so you don't have any vibration. And then moving on to Tightspot's gripper. So the nice thing about a Tightspot is they're going to fit a whole array of different diameter of arrows. So by simply unloosening these little wedges, you can create a tighter pinch or a very loose pinch for a big diameter arrow. So I shoot a 4mm arrow and it contains it just great by moving these little wedges up and down. All these quivers have Tightspot's easy quick pull arrow, which is out the back, so it's going to be directly around to your face, so you can knock your arrow really fast. You don't have to go around your string. So now that you kind of see what the quiver is all made of, now it's time to get into, why buy a 7 arrow, why buy a 5, why buy the rise. So starting with the 7 arrow, the main benefit of this quiver is if you're somebody that likes to do a long extended hunt, having 2 extra arrows is huge. So if you're shooting small game, whether you're shooting grouse or you're somebody that likes to shoot their bow throughout a week, at stumps or dirt, you know, just to make sure you're sighted in and you're getting those reps. Having the ability to carry those 2 extra arrows and not dole up 1 or 2 of your 5 hunting arrows is very nice to have, especially if you're going to be doing some trips where making a trip back to your truck isn't an option. So for just a slightly heavier setup than the 5 arrow, the 7 arrow is a great option if you are somebody that does a lot of practicing throughout the hunt. The 5 arrow is kind of the standard when it comes to how many arrows that people usually take in. It's been that way for a very long time. And so what Tightspot did is they gave this 5 arrow the most options for colors. So with all 3 of these quivers, you're going to get a selection basically of different hood options, different colors. So you could use First Light Fusion or Cryptic Altitude or a bunch of solids like the OD green or a moss green or a matte black. And with the 5 arrow, that's kind of the most common quivers that they sell. So that's going to be the most options. And when you go to purchase this on our website, we're going to have a full breakdown of all the options. So you can see right on there what each one of these quivers comes in. But the 5 arrow, definitely, you're going to have a lot more options. Moving on to the Rise, this is really designed for somebody that likes a really lightweight, compact, simplified design of these 2 quivers. So if you're somebody that likes to hunt out of a tree stand, that just wants a shrunk up version, you don't have a lot of big parts up in the air with you, this is a great quiver. It's still gonna do everything that these 2 quivers will. Note you do have 4 inches of extra arrow hanging out, so you could have a little bit more vibration down the length of your arrow, but it still does its job and it still works great. A lot of guys go this route as well. So if you guys have any questions about these 3 quivers or anything else in the store that we carry, please feel free to give us a call. We'd be glad to help. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.